I want to start today by reviewing the two different techniques that we covered in the last class, which was polynomial long division. It was obviously the longer of the two techniques, and then something called synthetic division, which is the shortcut. We're going to start this day by looking at both techniques pretty equally, and then you'll notice after that we're going to almost exclusively use the shortcut from there on out. But I do want to recap the longer way because I think it's something that needs a little extra practice. So this one I say remember the placeholder, because if you look at this polynomial, it's missing the x squared term. So when you set up your division, you're going to have a 4x cubed, you're going to put a 0x squared, and then your minus 7x and plus 8. And then your divisor goes out front, the 2x minus 1. So I want to see what happens when I divide 4x cubed by 2x, or what I have to multiply 2x by to get it to be a 4x cubed. That's going to be a 2x squared, and I'm going to put it in the x squared column. The importance of keeping the columns just makes everything make more sense. So we're going to multiply 2x squared times everything that's out front. So 2x squared times 2x is 4x cubed. 2x squared times negative 1 is negative 2x squared. I'm going to keep changing my pens when I subtract to show you how I change the signs. So this is going to be negative, this is going to be positive. So we're going to cancel this. We're going to get x squared plus 2x squared, which is 2x squared. And then you're going to drop down the next term. So this comes straight down. And then you're going to repeat, and you're going to see, what do I have to multiply 2x by to get it to be a 2x squared? So we're just missing an x, so we're going to add an x here. Multiply through. X times 2x is 2x squared. X times negative 1 is negative 1x, or just negative x. Subtract, so I'm going to change my signs. That is going to cancel this. We're going to get negative 7x plus x, which is negative 6x, plus 8. Then I'm going to see, what do I have to multiply 2x by to get it to be a negative 6x? That's going to be a negative 3. So we're going to multiply negative 3 times 2x, which is negative 6x, and negative 3 times negative 1, which is plus 3. Change your signs. Switch colors here, so change your signs. You end up getting this to cancel. We get a remainder of 5. So the way that we write our remainder is we put our remainder over our original denominator, my original divisor. So all of this up here is my answer. We call it the quotient when I get the answer in a division problem. And we would say that 2x minus 1 is not a factor of 4x cubed minus 7x plus 8, because we did get a remainder. It did not divide evenly. So our shortcut technique, which after time I know you will become much more comfortable with the shortcut than anything else, and we will use it more than anything else. So with the shortcut, you're going to write your coefficients of each term across the top. So we have 3x cubes, negative 2x's, 5 x's, and negative 1 constants. And then you're going to put the 0 of the divisor. So what makes that equal to 0 is negative 2. So you drop your first number down, and then you multiply diagonally, so negative 2 times 3, and then you add vertically, so you get negative 8. And then you multiply diagonally, put your number here, and then you add vertically, and then you multiply diagonally, and then you add vertically. Each number represents a term. The last number is your remainder, so you end up with, the 3 is your x squared, so we end up with 3x squared minus 8x plus 21, with a remainder of negative 43 over x plus 2. So we would say x plus 2 is not a factor of the original dividend because we got a remainder. It did not divide evenly. This is going to be the last one that I do both ways. So we're going to set this up as a long division. We do need a placeholder. You'll notice there is no x squared. So we have x cubed, we have 0x squared, negative 14x, and 8. And we're going to divide by x plus 4. We're also going to set up the synthetic box. 1, we are going to have a 0. I have my synthetic box upside down. 1, we have a 0x squareds, negative 14, and 8. And outside, you're going to put a negative 4 because it's what makes this equal to 0. So the long division, I'll get that one done first. I want to see what I multiply x by to get x cubed. That's going to be an x squared. So I'm going to multiply through, so I get x cubed when I multiplied and 4x squared. I'm going to subtract, so I'm going to change my signs. So I have a 0x squared minus 4x squared is minus 4x squared. Then I'm going to drop down the minus 14x. So now I want to see what I multiply x by to get it to be negative 4x squared. That's going to be a negative 4x. So I'm going to multiply through negative 4x squared. Negative 4x times 4 is negative 16x. Change my signs. So plus plus. This will cancel. For negative 14x plus 16x is 2x. Bring down the 8. What do I multiply x by to get it to be a 2x? That will just be a 2. Multiply through, you get 2x. 2 times 4 is 8. When you change signs, you probably already have noticed that everything will cancel, meaning you have no remainder. So this divides evenly. We would say x plus 4 is a factor of the original dividend. And you're going to see the same result when you do the shortcut. So you drop down the 1, multiply diagonally, add vertically, multiply diagonally, add vertically, multiply diagonally, add vertically. And this right here, having a 0 remainder, tells me that it is a factor. And my answer is, again, x squared minus 4x plus 2. So whichever way, this one can be done both ways. You should get the same answer, the same result, either one. So this one, I'm going to totally switch gear to the shortcut. So this one has a placeholder that's needed, and I want to make sure I point those out to you. So we have 1x to the 4th, negative 6x to the 3rd, no x squareds, negative 40x's, and 33 constants. And we are dividing by a 7 because that's what makes that equal to 0. That is the 0. So we drop it down, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. Now, since this started as an x to the 4th, when I do my division, this is going to be an x to the 3rd. So I'm going to have 1x to the 3rd, 1x to the 2nd, 7 x's, 9, and then my remainder is positive 96 over x minus 7. So it was not a factor because it did not divide evenly. So there is my process, and you will get to the point you were able to do these pretty quickly. So here's an example of kind of a word problem that asks you to do the same thing. Again, we're going to stick to the shortcut. We'll do these two. So this is saying that we have the volume of a box to be this big polynomial. We know one of the dimensions is x plus 5, and our job is to find the other dimensions of the box. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up a synthetic division. So we're going to take our coefficients of our polynomial here. So I have 1, 7, negative 38, and negative 240. Since I know that x plus 5 is one of the factors because it's one of the dimensions of volume, then that means I know if I put negative 5 outside and I go through synthetic division, I know this is going to divide evenly because they're telling me it's one of the dimensions. So I'm going to start with that. I'm going to drop down the 1. I'm going to multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. And I knew this was going to happen because they told me that this was one of the dimensions, meaning it's one of the factors, one of the things that multiplies together to give volume. So what I have left is I have x squared plus 2x minus 48. The question wants the other dimensions. So the other dimensions are if that's your width, then you have your length and your height. I can factor this. And if I factor this, I will get the other dimensions. So I need two numbers that multiply to get negative 48 and add to get 2. That's going to be 8 and negative 6. So my other factors are x plus 8 and x minus 6. So because I knew one of the factors, I could then use synthetic division to help me simplify it to get the other two factors. The next one has the same type of question. It gives you a polynomial, so 1, 6, 11, and 6. It's representing the volume of a box. They're telling you that one of the dimensions, one of the factors is x plus 1, which means when I put a negative 1 and I do the synthetic division, I know I should get a 0 remainder because it's one of the factors. So I'm going to drop down the 1, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. And I got 0, which is exactly what I'm expecting. I am left with x squared plus 5x plus 6. It wants to write my other dimensions, meaning my other two factors. So I'm going to factor. I need two numbers that multiply to get 6 and add to get 5. And that is going to be a plus 2 and a plus 3. So that is how I use synthetic division and our basic factoring knowledge from earlier in the chapter and last chapter to be able to write, in this case, dimensions of a box.